I'll let Eric know to go back to TikTok for now. And I'll probably just send out a WhatsApp notice for everybody else. Oh, I hate TikTok though, man. Let's see what we got. Give me a second, guys. Right. What else we got? All right, so we're doing the presentation. Let's hop into this because there's a lot of information to go over. I don't want to rush. So let's see where we are on TikTok. See if I can keep up with this. Let's see here. Everybody can see the slide.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Yep.
All right. All right, guys. So um, this is a recap for most of you. We haven't really talked about this in several months. But moving forward, focus on this correction, focus on the value hunter. This is the part that we want to focus on. What is going to rebuild the value that already exist in the stock market? It's there. It's in the supply chain. It's in the research and development. It's in the warehouses. It's in the lab, the factory. It's in the assembly lines. Most of this is already implemented. So we want to see exactly where does this fit in our stock market, because everything that I just explained was the economy, was the supply chain, but price follows value. So all we have to do, if price is so low, if there was a huge sell-off and and price is falling, that means that and value didn't fall. Value was still there. So our job now is to see when and how long, and I shouldn't say when because it's inevitable. How long will it take for the current price to go back to its current value? And if there's ever been a time to prove that price and value are different, is now. Price has fallen, but I promise you, the value didn't. The original value that existed 3 months ago, that existed 6 months ago, it's still in there. And if anything, it's still building. As long as there are new innovations and new technologies and new inventions, and just by uh, NVIDIA's conference this week, there were several new inventions that was introduced. So there's new value being added in. So we are trying to see exactly where does price and value converge. Most people will never get this concept because they're looking. Let me show you this before we even get started. Let me show you this. Let me show you what everybody else looks at and why they will never understand what we're discussing. Give me a second. Gotta find the slide. Oh, that's not it. Give me a second. Oh, that's why. It's not the right viewer. Give me a second. Give me a second, guys. That wasn't the right viewer. Or was it? Give me a second, guys. Bear with me. All right, there we go. So let's show this first. I'm not going to be able to maintain both these presentations. TikTok may just have to see the cover sheet. All right, so this is what everybody else is dealing with in the markets. The institutions see the value, they know the value, they're even controlling the value. How do we know? Because they're the ones that drop the markets. They're the ones that cause the correction. So they affected the price. And everybody else, whether they are looking at equity markets, derivatives, crypto, everybody is programmed to follow the price. but we know better. We're not looking at price. We're not going after price. We can care less about price. We want to wipe the carrot away, look at the stick. And yes, I did that on purpose. If you understand the concept of the carrot and the stick, as long as they show you the carrot, they don't have to use the stick. But they're going to make you do what they want you to do. We want to see the same value as the institutions. And that's what today's presentation is, to show you where the value is. Now, everybody else, this is something else that we're doing different. Everybody else version of value is what they currently have been doing for the last 150 years. They don't, a lot of people out there don't know that anything has changed. They see it. They see it in the media. They see it in the news. They see it in the world. They see it in the economy. They see it in corporate environments, but they still don't know what it is. They don't know the value of what they're looking at because they're programmed to look at price. So let's go back now. Let's show you. Did Microsoft do an update? There used to be a way for me to scan. You know what? Let's do this. Give me a second. No, I'm in the right one. See, I don't want to have to do this. That's too many slides. Give me a second. May not have a choice. All right, let's do this. There used to be a way to do this. All right, guys, let me do this. Got to share separate one. I gotta figure out why it's doing that, man. All right, guys, sorry about that, but I gotta figure out why it's doing that, man. All right, so what we're gonna show you is this concept called the fifth industrial revolution. And ever since 2020, we have entered into the fifth industrial revolution. Now, saying that means nothing. Recognizing it means nothing. Knowing it means nothing. We got to recognize where the value is. We got to recognize exactly what does this mean? How is this important? How is this going to make us money? Where's the application? So that's what we're going to show you today. We're going to show you the history of this, how this evolved, where does it start? And then the whole point of this is, how do we make money from it? Because when I originally introduced this to you, that was the very first thing I did, right? We were way ahead of the game. When I introduced this concept of a year ago, I did not just introduce a new industrial revolution. The very first thing that I showed you was how to analyze it. How do we find it in the economy, in the corporate environment, in the supply chain? So that's what we're going to do today. So first off, we introduce you with the timeline of what everybody else believes. They're just starting to say that we're in a new industrial revolution. I think it was Huang, the CEO of NVIDIA last year, is the person that announced a new industrial revolution. We're in a new age, quantum age. So, but even with him saying it, people still don't recognize we're in a new revolution. So this is what everybody else understands, that we're in industry 4.0. But that's so 2000. Because around 2020, we entered into a new revolution. And this concept was brought to everyone's attention by Zhao Chen, an associate professor at the University of Denmark. And he introduced it back in 2021. And it makes perfect sense when you look at the timeline, because he's saying back in 2020, well, what happened in 2020? We were coming out of we had the pandemic. Everybody was sheltered in place. Everybody had a whole lot of time on their hands. The whole world stopped. So what did everybody do for that year and a half period of 2020 and 2021? And I've used this word even right now, what we're going through right now. Everybody cocooned. That's what happened in 2020. Everybody cocooned, stayed in one place, built themselves up, and the same thing happened with an entire industrial revolution. The whole tech industry cocooned because everybody was able to buckle down and just focus. And even if it was in the garage at their home, it didn't stop. People were still on Zoom. People were still working on their projects. Nobody was interacting at the office. Nobody was interacting, at the stores. Nobody was meeting for meetings. There was a whole lot of time to develop anything that you wanted to develop. So what happened was we got a new industrial revolution, Industry 5.0. And I'm going to tell you, it's sometime between 2020 and 2021. You'll hear both dates or both years. Because it really applied after the pandemic, which was 2021. But we entered into the Industry 5.0 around that time period. And like I said, this graphic is from Zhao Chen. Now, there's something else that I want to bring to your attention. Look at the years at the bottom. Look at the time period between the industrial revolutions. So the first one, from Industry 1.0 to 2.0, was 120 years. Then you'll notice that Industry 2.0 to 3.0 is about 70 years. And then Industry 3.0 to 4.0 was about 30 years. And then Industry 4.0 to 5.0 is about 20 years. So what do you think is going to happen with the next industrial revolution? It's going to be quicker than 20 years, especially with AI, quantum computing, advanced computing, all these different things. It's going to come a lot quicker. And that just means that more value is being added at a quicker pace. And this is where I get my prediction when I tell you that all of the Magnificent Seven will be over $3 trillion. It's inevitable. If we're going to start getting industrial revolutions every 10 years, if we start getting it every 15 years, every 10 years, every 5 years, every industrial revolution should be quicker. We might be at industry 7.0 in another 20 years, another 20 or 30 years. We may literally go 2 generations, two industrial revolutions in 30 years. When there was one with that same period from 3 to 4. So if we're going to advance that quickly, then there's a whole lot of value that's going to be added to the supply chain, to the corporations, to the economy, and to the stock market. And we are primed to be at the beginning. Nobody else even knows this is happening. And believe me, they're going to find out sometime soon. Juan said it last year, but nobody caught on to it. They even had articles out quoting him. People didn't know what it meant. We did, because I predicted it before him. So believe me, I won't be able to keep saying this that nobody knows. Somebody's going to finally recognize that we're in a new industrial revolution. But right now, we have the advantage over everybody else. And we got to take advantage of it. So let's prove this, that we're actually in the new industrial revolution. Because I want you guys to be able to explain to somebody else. If somebody starts talking stuff that they, well, that's not quite right. I want you to be able to articulate it. So here is how we know we're in a new industrial revolution. Because you can always go and find, you can always go back to one of these industrial revolutions. You can find the inventions and innovations. And all you have to do is tether it, connect it to an energy source, a new energy source. It has to be a new set of innovations. A new industrial revolution can be identified by finding a new set of inventions and innovations and then connect them to a new energy source. And I want to prove this to you very quickly. Industry 1.0 to Industry 4.0. Let's go through each one. Industry 1.0, the original, back in 1765, we had the steam engine, gas lighting. They had some kind of oil that they were getting off of the coal burning, and they were using that liquid to heat up to fuel all the lamps in the homes. This is way before oil. So they were using some kind of an oil that was coming off of the coal burning. All right, so you had the steam engine, you had gas lighting, you had locomotion, and all of this was coming off of coal burning fuel. Everybody was burning coal. And I'm telling you, this, like, everybody was steam engine. Steam engine, steam engine, steam engine. Everything and everybody had a steam engine. Some of them have steam engines inside their homes. Everything was converting over to steam engine. And they were powering those steam engines by coal burning fuel. There were a lot of people in the mines. There were a lot of people dying in the mines. That was the first industrial revolution back in 1765. Now, back the next one was 2.0. in 1870. And here's another little secret about the Industrial Revolutions. Sometimes they will take older innovations and update them. All right. They have a better understanding. More research and development has gone into it. So now they can upgrade the previous inventions and innovations. So they did that as well in 1870. We got the steam engine turned into a combustible engine. We got communications and pharmaceuticals that we previously didn't have. And all of this came from petroleum. This is when oil was discovered. They started experimenting with different oils to see what, with crude oil to see what they can use it for. And then they were originally they came up with a turbine that like a gas powered turbine, and the turbines was basically creating electricity. So we basically got two energy sources from the 1870s. We got petroleum fuels, and then we got electricity. So once again, we're looking for new. Go ahead. Somebody, give me a second. Somebody's probably got their mic off. Give me a second. So we have a new set of innovations and a new energy source. And this is all we got to do. Just keep going and we can see the same pattern. In 1970, we got electronics and data storage. We got computers, Walkmans, we got floppy disk and CD-ROMs and all of this. So the new energy sources that was able to power this stuff: chemical energy, geothermal energy, and nuclear energy. If you guys remember back that far, remember the first solar calculator? People didn't know what to do with it. So after the 1970, we got 2000. That's when we got the internet. We got digital technology, cloud technology. Now, keep in mind that cloud technology was at the very end of that revolution, but it all fits into that same little area. Cloud technology was kind of the end of Industry 4.0. But once again, a new set of innovations and new energy sources: fuel cell, solar cell, renewable energy. And keep in mind, they're still taking older innovations and updating them. Do you think that? Keep in mind, like there was this computer. You think this computer was the same as this computer when we got the laptops and the tablets and the phones? No. They take the old innovations and make them new. We don't use Walkmans anymore. We're using MP3s. We don't use floppies anymore. We're using cloud technology. And the sad part is some people still think that we're in this Industry 4.0, and we're not. We are in a fifth industrial revolution, Industry 5.0. And let's prove it to you, right? We should be looking at the same pattern: new innovations and new energy sources. Now, we have advanced computing, and that because keep in mind, they have supercomputers and they have quantum computing. Both of those are advanced computing, sped up computers that can analyze and process things a lot faster. So we have supercomputers, but we also have quantum computing. All right, we have AI and AGI, and now we have a new one called ASI, and then we also have the robotics. So these are all new innovations, new inventions. We see the things that all of these tech companies are coming out with. And then we have to have new energy sources. This stuff cannot be run off of a Duracell. These things cannot be run off of a trying to think of another type of battery. A car battery. They have to find a way to shrink it down to make it more portable. And then they got to make sure the energy is sustainable. They have to make sure the energy will last longer. And then they also have to make sure that it's environmentally safe. So what we're gonna look at is we're gonna show you an acronym. If you have the crossbow or the sniper AI, then you have this. It's called the cradle. We get the name because the new industrial revolution is a cradle of technologies. We've heard that term before. It's a cradle of technology. That's what the fifth industrial revolution is. And each category is a cradle. Each one of these is a cradle of technology. So the acronym is cradle, and then we have computing, we have robotics, we have artificial intelligence, we have data centers, we have ledger technologies, and we have energy sources. But as I said, the all of the technologies are dependent on the energy. Doesn't matter how good the technology is. Doesn't matter how developed. Doesn't matter um, how much it's going to change our way of living. It's dead in the water if they don't have an energy source that can power it, and sustainable power, affordable power. Because if the energy source is too expensive, once again, the technology is dead in the water. So here's the real secret to it. You have to use the 6 cradles. Notice the first 6: computing, robotics, artificial intelligence, data centers, and ledger technologies. You have to use them with the 7th major energy source. Oh, I forgot the S. Sorry, guys, I forgot the S, the supercomputer. I'm sorry, the super chips. I knew something was off. So yeah, there's a cradles with the S. I was tired last night. So the last S on this, the cradles, is super chips. But none of those energy sources work unless you have the energy. Unless you have the energy source. So let's go through all of them here. I didn't forget them here. I just forgot them in the cradles. So let's go through this. And you can see on the inside, they have the cradles with the letters. But first off, we have computing. And then that's all that, like I said, the advanced computing, the quantum computing, and that would also include any programming languages. Because that's really what the computing is. You know, as a person who is a programmer, everybody is trying to streamline their coding. They don't want any redundancies. They want to be able to say something one time in the code, and it just does it. If they have something called redundancies, then the programming language is doing multiple tasks for the same thing. So if they can kind of clean up the code, it's going to run a lot faster. So even the programming, because isn't that what the AI and the robotics and the ledger technology, that's all based on the coding. And if you look at the CUDA from the NVIDIA, that's still coding. So all of the computing is still the computer programming, that you also want to streamline that and kind of get rid of any redundancies so it runs as smooth as possible. You only have to state a command one time and it executes a lot faster. So all of that is advanced computing or supercomputing. Next, we have robotics. And the whole purpose of this is to take the computing, take the artificial intelligence, take the data centers, take the super chips, combine it, you have robotics. because that's something else that you're going to see. You have to combine several of the technologies to get another technology. These are the base ones, and I'll explain that when we get to the end of this. So we have artificial intelligence, we have the data centers, the ledger technologies is the blockchain, but blockchain is only one of them. That's the reason why we don't do blockchain. I qualified it a lot better where ledger technologies, and you can see this in your course material. Go to your book, and you'll see all of the different ledger technologies that are available. Once again, we have the energy sources and the super chips. And if you combine all of these, notice that the middle number is 63. So if you take out the energy sources, and if you start combining all of these other six, you're going to get 63 combinations where you can create other technologies. And remember, I said that I thought about adding healthcare, which is just biotechnology. Well, when I looked into it, because I researched to make sure, but guess what? Every single thing, every article that I found on biotechnology or healthcare, you're combining the rest. They're combining the AI. AI is coming up with all of the solutions. Every single thing that I saw AI driven or AI created. So you have to combine the AI, and then some of the labs are using the robots to kind of put everything together. So even the healthcare or the biotechnology is a combination of everything. These are the base ones. With this base of technologies, you can create anything in the fifth industrial revolution. But notice that I gave you the 63 because we're going to take the energy out. That's the real focus. Find the energy. The energy is the foundation of all of it. If you cannot find the energy sources, the technology is dead in the water. So you have nuclear energy, geothermal, that includes, you have solar, you have wind, you have bioenergy, hydropower, and then the energy storage. And the whole point of this is for it to be sustainable. I gave it to you in the workbook. I gave you about 5 or 6 ways on why the energy. Kind of want to go to it. Is this the end of it? Yeah, this is the end of it. So let's go to the workbook so I can show you the qualifications for the energy. Give me a second. I should have added it as a slide, but I forgot. Give me a second. Uh, there we go. So let's share this real quick. And I guess I can show you where it exists in the workbook. There we go. Or you know what? I should probably show you from the table of contents. Give me a second. Now there are actually 2 acronyms that we use for the fifth industrial revolution. Give me a second. Let me find it. So here's Cradles. Whenever I find it, give me a second. Where's Cradles at? It's here somewhere. Oh, there it is. So here we have the Kratos. All right. Everything that I showed you is right here, broken down in detail. Every type of robot, every type of AI. And I need to add ASI to this. They just discovered ASI. I got to add that to the book. But here are all the different types of data centers, the different types of ledger technologies. And here's what I want to show you. Here's all the energy sources, but check this out. Energy out, it says for the energy source to be considered acceptable, it must meet the certain criteria. Energy output, it should produce a large amount of energy per unit of time. Pollution, it should be free of pollutants or produce zero carbon emissions. Cost, it should be economical and have a low cost but high calorific value. Accessibility, it should be easy to handle, carry, and store, and then sustainable. It should be able to produce energy over a long period of time. So if it doesn't meet this criteria, it's not an energy source that we want to focus on. All right, but I gave you all of this in the workbook because and this is really powerful because that you're going to see a lot of people coming out with new ideas about energy, whether it's a concept or whether it's some kind of a research. So if you run across it, you run across a news article, you can come back to your workbook and verify that it falls within an acceptable energy source. And if it doesn't meet all of these, I wouldn't put my focus on it, and I definitely wouldn't put my money on it. It needs to meet all of these requirements, not some, all of them. All right. So, and then there's another one called secret. Let me go back to that. The second acronym. We're not going to go over this one, but I just want to show you that we do have two that we use to analyze the fifth industrial revolution. We have another one called secret, because that is the secret. Right here. Secret. This is how we apply it. This is how we apply the fifth industrial revolution. We look in the supply chain, we look for economic benefit, we look at current technologies that can be upgraded. We look at new revolutionary technologies out of the 63, and then we evaluate the assets that are needed to create it or sustain it. And then we see what kind of way that the technology is going to transform the supply chain or the economy. So the secret acronym is another way to analyze the fifth industrial revolution. You use the cradle to find the technology, find the energy source, and then you use the secret acronym to see if it's how it's going to bring value in the future. Let me say it one more time. You use the cradle acronym to find the technology and then also the energy source. And then you want to look at the secret acronym to find the future value. All right. And then at this point, once we do that, we now can use causal sequence to kind of go through this step by step to see when and where and how long it's going to take that value to apply itself to the markets. All right, guys. So the reason why I showed this, let's recap again. Application, right? The reason why I showed this, because all of that technology hasn't gone away. It is still in there. It's still building. This week alone, you see NVIDIA coming out with all the new innovations and inventions that's going to be applied. He gave a 3-year schedule on all the new chips, all the new partnerships. So the value is still there and the value is still adding to it. But the institutions have driven the price down. So that price no longer matches the value. So all we have to do is be patient, keep our eyes on the prize, and watch the price go back up to the legitimate value. Nobody else knows this. Everybody else is just going to follow the price. And they're going to swear they're doing it right. But by knowing where the value is, we know how long that journey is going to take. We know when to get on and off the train. Because a lot of people think all you got to do is get on the train and you're good. And we've already had that discussion a couple weeks ago. You can't just put your money in the markets and just let it run. The institution is going to wipe you out. You have to time getting on and off that train. Because if it was that simple, everybody would be doing it. I'll just put my money in this and walk away. I wish it was that simple. And crypto is manipulating people to believe it's that simple. All those crypto heads, if they try to come over to the real stock market and just put their money in something and come back 3 months later, they're going to lose all their money because they think that's how investing works. You got an entire generation of people that only thinks that crypto is the real markets. This is our stock market. No, it's not. This is no different than options back in the 1920s. This is no different than Forex in the 1980s, 1970s, and 1980s. Unregulated market, over the counter, unregulated. Crypto is just another version. And a lot of people don't know that options and Forex are still unregulated. Nobody legitimized those markets. They make you think they're regulated. They'll make you think they're regulated, but they are not. They're still scam markets. They're still casinos. That's the reason why they call them over the counter. But nobody knows what that term means. Oh yeah, they're over the counter. Yeah, that's it. And then you hear some kind of a news report about the SEC or the FTC will fine them, and oh yeah, it's regulated. They got fined. Wrong, because people don't know how the fining works. The fining is a negotiation. Because the SEC, when they give you the fine, it's a suggestion. It's a starting of a negotiation. Most people don't know that. Nobody pays the original amount. That's where the negotiation starts, when you bring in your lawyer. They may ask you to pay $5 billion. By the time the lawyer comes in and they do their thing, you end up paying $5 million. But they have to give the appearance that it is legitimate when it's not. We know where the legitimacy is: tangible assets, intrinsic value. And that's kind of what this is. The price has fallen. The value is still in the markets. So we have to follow the price back up. And everybody else is going to make money off of this. Everybody else is going to make money in the markets. as they ride the price back up to the legitimate value. Do we have any questions on this, guys?
Seen that strategy played out over and over again. Thanks for explaining it. It's I guess it's the other side of the coin of corporate or industry manipulation.
Yep. They know what they're doing. And that's why I showed you that slide of the carrot and stick. Because they're dropping the price for everybody else, but they know they need them. They know they need those people to get into the markets because institutions don't steal money from each other. Not all the time. Because there's a quote that I told you. They need a whole new influx of investors. We're the ones. Our money is the one that drives the markets. Our losses. So they need people to come in so they can take the money. They need more victims.
I've always thought it's funny when I see a guy like Larry Fink act so compassionate about retirement. Explains everything.
These people have been doing this in this cycle of correction, every 1 or 2 years. We're going to drive the price down, and then we're going to ride it back up. Now the thing is, let me kind of explain correction, because this one was different. This correction was different. Usually there is so much greed in the markets that people don't want to wait for a correction. Sometimes, most times, I'll say even most times the correction will catch people off guard. They're so focused on getting the money that the correction kind of just sneaks up on people. This is a very rare occasion where they made the correction happen. They controlled the correction. And I think it's absolutely, it's diabolical, but it's the smartest thing that they could have done, because like I said, the innovations that's about to come into the markets, there's no way that the markets could have stayed what they were, because the markets would have kept going up. We have to relieve that pressure. We got to reset the markets, get everything back to where it needs to be. And then now we can ride that price back up to the legitimate value. Otherwise, we would just continue to get 52-week new 52-week highs every week. So we reset it. Like I said, in the next 3 months, well, the price will be back where it needs to be. Everybody's going to make money. Everybody made money on the correction as they shorted the markets. And now they're going to make more money as it goes back to the original value. And then that's when the bull cycle will continue. And I already told you, it's about 30% of the time. 30% of the time we get bear. The other 70% is bullish. It's actually like 67 and 33. But this is what we're looking for. And what this does, it allows you a level of clarity. It allows you a level of clarity of exactly what's going on, why it's happening, and where is the end of the journey? Where are we trying to get to? Because all the 2 weeks, we were trying to get to the correction. I walked you through day by day until we got the correction. And like I said, I still don't think we're done, right? This is the calm before the storm. I think we're just kind of going through a pullback, and you're going to get this. Markets are going to give us this injection of positivity and bullish, new value coming in, but we still got to go through the causal sequence of the tariffs. So we're going to get very bad quarterly earnings. We're going to get very bad economic surveys. So we're still going to get bearish rallies and trends and cycles, but I don't know how long it's going to last. And I'm thinking about 2 months. I think 2 months of um 2 months of economic events, and then 1 month of the Q2 being like really bad. That's as much as I can predict right now, because I still don't know the X factor, which is Trump. I don't know what this man is planning. And that's the reason why I said, let's just take it with the correction right now, because we only want to go with what we know. Let's not speculate about the recession. Let's not speculate about a crash. None of that. We knew a correction needed to happen. So let's just go from that. Let's just go that far. We now got that correction, fulfillment of the prediction. Now let's see what's going to happen next. All right, we do know that it takes about 3 months to recover. So let's go with that. We know that that's a thing. We know we can predict that. A correction takes 3 months to come back. So that's the next thing we want to predict. Let's do that. Let's not go too far ahead. There's a whole lot of things that we don't know what's coming. So let's figure out what the next event is, and now let's just predict that thing. I'm trying to keep you guys focused on this so you don't get too far ahead, because you'll be out there like everybody else, trying to figure out what's going to happen 5 years from now, or what's Trump's going to do, and none of that. What is the next event? What's the next thing? Let's wait until that happens. Then we can move on to the next one. And you have to do it this way. Otherwise, you get caught up. You get caught up in the hype, caught up in the speculation, caught up in the sentiment. What is the next thing that we know is going to happen? We knew the correction was happening. We know there's going to be a 3-month recovery. We know these things. And that should be the limit of how far we're going to predict. If you try to predict anything past that, you're speculating, because you don't have the evidence to back it up. We know that the correction is coming. I'm sorry, we know that the recovery from the correction is coming. But once again, any kind of causal sequence that we're trying to put together, we know that there's going to be disruptors. Trump can disrupt it at any moment. He already did. So just sit back and wait, see what comes up. We know that recovery is coming. We just don't know if it's going to be 3 months. Other factors may come in to extend it. The Fed may come in and adjust interest rates. That might affect. So we just got to sit back and wait. We know that the next thing that we're looking for is the recovery. We know that the value is still in the markets. We just don't know how long it's going to take us to get back to it. Historically, 3 months. Let's see if we get that unencumbered, no disruptions. But we know that there's going to be disruptions. But we take that information as it comes. We apply it. We analyze it. We predict it as it comes. And this is what's going to separate us from everyone else. Any questions on any of this, guys? All right, guys. I'm going to go ahead and get off of TikTok. I want to thank everybody for stopping by. We'll see you guys on Monday.